Hey, greetings and salutations, everyone. It's Glenn Kellaway coming to you from the basement. This is part 3 in my series, My Favorite Decade in Music, 1964 to 1974. For those of you who are watching this part and haven't seen the other two, I am picking albums that, for me personally, are iconic and have personal meaning to me, helped me with my musical growth, albums that I continue to love to this day. And so I'm not including just the greatest albums of that year. It's more of a personal thing to me. I hope some of these albums mean something to you. Please let me know in the comments which ones you treasure. I'd be interested in hearing. I appreciate all the comments I've been getting and the amount of views. It's great to share our love of music and this passion that we all have. So this part 3 is 1968. There were 20 albums I chose out of 1968. I'm sure I could have chosen another 50 more, but these are the 20 that I am focusing on that I absolutely love. And so let's just get started. Again, 1967, I had 16 albums picked. So it continues to go up every year from 64. There's more and more great records coming. So, and it hasn't peaked yet. So, 1968, let's just start. I have, there's no order. I'm not ranking them. The Crazy World of Arthur Brown. Arthur Brown has, over the past 3 or 4 years, the only album I was ever aware of was this one, and the great single Fire, which was incredible. It's still one of the great singles of the 60s, I think. So this was the only album I was aware of up until a couple of years ago, and now I found out he had this whole other life after that with the Arthur Brown's Kingdom Come and that. So if you like this stuff, check out his other stuff. I'm just madly in love with it. But anyway, The Crazy World of Arthur Brown. Fire was just a huge hit. Great song. Continues to be a great song. Yeah, the album, he also does an incredible version of I Put a Spell on You on this, which Creedence did on their first album too, but I think I like this version the best. So, Crazy World of Arthur Brown, the first album I am choosing. This, by the way, is the 50th anniversary set. It's very cool. What else have I got here? I got some on CD and some on vinyl just to show. But the love of Jefferson Airplane still continues on from 1966 with Surrealistic Pillow. Crown of Creation, one of my favorite Jefferson Airplane albums. The song Crown of Creation is great. Lather's on this one. Triad, the David Crosby song, their version of that is on here. Yeah, great album. I mean, still solid albums coming out of Jefferson Airplane. Oh, how about this guy, Dr. John, the Night Tripper, his first album, Gree. Oh my God, this album was incredible. The song "Walk on Gilded Splinters," which, if you're a Humble Pie fan and you're rocking the Fillmore, they do a great version of that, but not as good as Dr. John's. His is just like voodoo music. It's incredible. It's so good. If you've never heard "Walk on Gilded Splinters" by Dr. John the Night Tripper, check it out. Great artist. Trippy psychedelic album from the Moody Blues. This is my favorite Moody Blues album and would definitely rank in my top album covers, which I think I need to do a video on. Greatest album covers. In Search of the Lost Chord. Beautiful record. I was actually listening to it last night with headphones on. Yeah, it's got Voices in the Sky is probably the most well-known song on this album, and Ride My Seesaw. There would be two songs off of this album that people would be familiar with, but great record. Search of the Lost Chord, the Moody Blues. The Stones come out with Beggar's Banquet, my second favorite Stones album next to Exile. Just love this album. Brian Jones, basically his last hurrah with the Stones. Incredible. Started an incredible run of records. So, Rolling Stones, Beggar's Banquet. An album that came out of nowhere and shocked the hell out of me after hearing Van Morrison's Brown Eyed Girl, and then the album Blowing Your Mind, which was very bluesy with the organ and the harmonica and the, He Ain't Give You None and TB Sheets and all those songs. Then he comes out with this. So you buy this record not knowing what the hell it's going to be, just because it's the next Van Morrison record, and bring it home and hear this folky, jazzy, incredible record. Astro Weeks. I got to see Van on this promotional tour for Astro Weeks at Massey Hall that year. Man, great. Love that album. One of the top 5 albums of all time, probably, in my collection. Speaking of concerts, so I turned 15 in 1968 and discovered a whole world of, how do I put it? I started bathing at Baxter's, if anybody watched my last video or understands what that means. Really just blossomed. And I was in grade 10 that year, and I actually failed grade 10. I was not paying much attention to school, let's just put it that way. Started going to concerts. I saw Cream at Massey Hall that year. I saw Van Morrison that year. I saw Frank Zappa and the Mothers that year. It was just, my eyes were open, and I was old enough, to just, you could get a lot more freedom and stuff, let's just say. How about the Beatles' White Album, 1968? Incredible. I remember whether it was the night before this came out or a couple days before this came out, local radio station in Toronto, Chum FM, which was the underground station, played this album in its entirety the day before it was released, and they started like 10 o'clock at night. I still vividly remember laying in bed listening to this whole album, and then running out and buying it. The Beatles' White Album. What can you say? Needs no introduction. Jimi Hendrix Experience. Electric Ladyland. Oh, my God. What a great album. This is one of my top albums of all time, too. Jimmy. Okay. Now we're going into the CD pile. Cream comes out with a double album. One album live, one in the studio. Wheels of Fire. Great record. Great cover. They always had such great covers. Politicians on this. White Room's on this. And then live versions of Spoonful and Toad. And great record. Cream. Deep Purple's first album comes out. Hush was the big hit. They did a version of Hush, which was, I can't remember the artist now who did the kind of poppy version of Hush, and then Deep Purple comes out and plays this real rock version of it. And really good record. These guys were really cool. I love this first version of Deep Purple. The MK1 they call it, with Rod Evans singing. Mandrake Roots on this. Their version of Help is on here, the Beatles song. Hey Joe, they do a version of that. Hush. Just a great record. Shades of Deep Purple. Was a big fan of early DP. Procol Harum. Shine On Brightly. What an amazing record this is. This has the Prog masterpiece, 'Twas Held in I, which is about, 12 minutes of incredible music. Shine On Brightly is a great song. Just an amazing record. Shine On Brightly. 10 Years After, one of the great British blues bands. Undead. This is live 10 Years After. Fantastic record. If you've never heard this, check it out. Undead, 10 Years After. Pink Floyd continues to amaze us. Saucer Full of Secrets. Love this album. Love the song Saucer Full of Secrets. My favorite Pink Floyd song, Set the Controls to the Heart of the Sun, is on here. Amazing, amazing album. This incredible record comes out. 3 superstars. Mike Bloomfield from Paul Butterfield and Al Cooper. He puts together a session with himself and Mike Bloomfield. They start recording. Mike Bloomfield packs up and leaves without even saying goodbye. He was just bored. And they bring in Stephen Stills to finish it off. So this is called Super Sessions. Mike Bloomfield, Al Cooper, Stephen Stills. Incredible record that just blew everybody away. It's still one of the great albums of all time. Albert Shuffle. Stephen Stills' guitar work on Season of the Witch, Donovan's great song, is the masterpiece on this album as far as I'm concerned. But this is an essential album from the 60s, Super Sessions. Mike Bloomfield, Al Cooper, Stephen Stills. If you've never heard this, do yourself a favor and check it out. Virtuosic playing on there. Steppenwolf. I mentioned in the last video John Kay coming out of the Toronto scene in Yorkville. Steppenwolf, what an album. What a debut album. Born to be Wild. I mean, the term heavy metal was invented here. Heavy Metal Thunder. Steppenwolf, John Kay, great band who put out a ton of amazing albums. Zappa continues to put out some wacky stuff. I have regrets about my 1967 video that I left out absolutely free, which this was the second Zappa album and one that's really important to me. I kind of screwed up on that one, but I didn't miss out on We're Only for the Money, the parody cover of Sgt. Pepper. Jimi Hendrix is right there. He was actually live at the photo session. That is Jimmy there. Amazing record. Zappa. Janis Joplin, my favorite female singer of all time, 1967, Monterey Pop. She blows everybody away with her performance, especially the performance of Ball and Chain, which you've never seen that. Just check it out on YouTube. Janis at Monterey. Incredible performance. Love this album. It sounds like a live album, but it isn't a live album. The only track on this that is live is Ball and Chain, but the rest of the songs are all kind of recorded, and there was some mixing done and some adding crowd noise and stuff like that to make it appear like it's live, but it isn't. But one of my favorite albums of all time, Cheap Thrills, Big Brother and the Holding Company. The Kinks, my favorite Kinks album, Village Green Society. Kinks, one of the great bands out of the British invasion. I was thinking, the Beatles, Stones, and then who would be my third favorite out of all those bands? I think it might be the Kinks. So great album. Ray Davies, one of the great writers of the 60s. This album is the father of Led Zeppelin. It's Jeff Beck's Truth. If you've never heard this, so Jeff Beck and Jimmy Page came out of the Yardbirds together. They basically had the same idea where the guitar was heading, where music was heading. They both wanted to start bands that were similar to Zeppelin. Beck went first, so he went in the studio and he recorded a version of Bolero, which is Beck's Bolero, they call it on here. On that recording is Jimmy Page and John Paul Jones playing with Jeff Beck. Great song. It's on this album. This came out in '68. Then Jimmy Page puts Zeppelin together with John Paul Jones, Robert Plant, John Bonham, and he goes and he records an album. You Shook Me is on here. You Shook Me is on Led Zeppelin 1. That's about Beck's Bolero. Now Jimmy Page puts Bolero in the middle of How Many More Times. This album really, as much as because Rod Stewart's a different vocalist, but Rod was like a major talent back then. It wasn't the Rod Stewart from the American Songbook and Do You Think I'm Sexy days. Rod was a great rock singer. And this is an amazing album if you've never heard it, Jeff Beck's Truth. But that's kind of where it all started. Last but not least, the band Music from Big Pink, an essential album, an album that was very influential, influenced so many artists from George Harrison to Eric Clapton, still music today. A lot of the Americana music is all owes a big debt to Music from Big Pink. An incredible, incredible record. The Weight is probably in my top 5 songs of all time. I mean, Tears of Rage. They do a great version of Long Black Veil. The song Wheels of Fire, which they wrote with Dylan in the Basement Tapes in that era in Woodstock. I Shall Be Released. They do a version of Dylan's song there. I mean, just an amazing album. So that kind of wraps up 1968. 20 albums that really mean a lot to me from that year. I will continue with part 4 going into 1969 up to 74. 1969 has 29 albums that I chose. So total there's 171 albums in this series that I'm talking about. So I thank everyone for watching. I appreciate you all. I love you all. Thank you so much. Have a great day.